This is the Spinner Rack.
Welcome everybody back to the Spinner Rack, and once again we hitting on some serious subjects here. We don't want to pile on, but you know what?
We are piling on. This is a total pile on.
Once again, the crew is here. We got PD and Cal. Say what's up.
Took a pause.
Once again,
Hey,
Jussie Smolliet has been busted. That's what we gotta say. Busted.
Hold on. Hold on.
he's been busted though.
Hold on.
He's been busted.
Okay, I'm not willing to go that far. I will not go that far.
Why not?
Look, okay? When this came out, what happened? Everybody rushed to defend the dude. And then, the police decide charge him. Everybody's going the other way. Let's just let the thing play out. And then when it's done, you can feel free to do whatever you like. But let it play out. Okay? Just let it play out.
It played out for a month, 4 weeks.
It hasn't. It's played out in the... It's
No.
played out in the
It's-
course of public opinion.
No.
in the term of hip
4
hop,
weeks.
it's played out.
played.
It's
This is
totally played.
He's been busted. Let me say.
No. Oh,
I'm gonna tell you
in the
right
words of Big Daddy Kane, you played yourself.
Look,
To put a quarter in you. Because you played yourself. Right?
Look,
Like
I would-
a game in the
I would agree
arcade.
with you. I wouldn't be saying a big thing, but you know what? I think the reason we're bringing this up here is that some really big issues have been here. One is that he
Don't back the wrong horse.
He perpetrated a fraud. You know what I'm trying to say? Perpetrated a serious fraud. Racial, homophobic,
that's the allegation.
And MAGA.
Wait.
That is the allegation.
So
man.
wait a
Three
second.
groups
In
have
this
been
time,
slammed
are
and
you
has to be
agree?
stopped.
Do you think there's a chance that he could be exonerated?
Here's what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
When this started out, okay, nobody knew what the situation was. Now we have more information, so we have maybe some understanding of what the situation is. Let all the information come out so we can have the full understanding, and then we can actually make a determination. And you can go whole hog 100% at that point. What's the sense in what's just keeping your powder dry until then? Yes,
Because
we have
we-
more
We've had
information.
4 weeks of investigation. I think we have enough information here. Look, I agree with
It
you.
just sounds like you want to jump on the
No,
dude.
I agree with you. No, because I think
Pause.
the very fact that that you've had groups who get attacked, vilified.
That doesn't
Anybody-
relate to
and-
this.
Yes, it does.
It does not
does.
relate to
And I'm not
this.
talking
It
about
doesn't. It
you
doesn't.
have-
Yes,
It
it does.
does
Yes, it
not.
Now,
If
these
you
people
make it
who-
up, you weren't jumped.
No, exactly. He made it up. But look, let's get to
At
the
least he
fact.
wasn't jumped by MAGA, right? Because like those Nigerian guys, they might have. Because was it Trevor Noah did a skit?
Oh my!
You saw
Trevor
that?
Noah did
He did a
a
skit.
Lifetime movie of this whole incident. How bad it would be, And guess what? It played out perfectly. How many mistakes could it possibly make that they made?
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay. I'm going to try to give this.
There's
some
no
semblance.
way you're gonna make any sense of
I'm
it.
gonna
Because
try to
I'm
give
gonna
it
say,
some-
let me just
some
say,
semblance
it's not gonna make any sense because the
of
story
three lads
doesn't
actually
make
talking
any
about
sense.
something that, to be
It
quite
doesn't
honest,
make any sense.
Is important. Okay. Now, the whole thing comes out, and I think everybody did the same knee-jerk stuff that they've been doing for everything else.
Right.
Okay. When the story comes out, and again, I think anybody who was a little bit discerning might have said, okay, oh wow, this is really bad and
This
convenient.
is
and
a
convenient.
lot of stuff. A lot. Well, we didn't
Okay.
go to convenient because no one knew he had issues with his pay.
No, when I heard
But
when I
the
heard
fact
Was
that-
it, what, like in Trevor Noah, his
When I
problem
heard
was
the-
60 grand?
when I heard the situation,
65,000.
when I heard the situation was that Smolliet he's attacked, okay. They put a noose around him, they poured something on him, and then for me there were 2 things that stood out for me. One, they didn't have any video to be released. I never saw anything. And then 2, that he was able to get himself to the hospital. So I was like, okay, so he's able to get himself. He's able to get himself to the hospital after all of that. I was like, man, guy must be really tough, and all of his wounds seem to be very superficial. And I'm listening, and I was like, okay, well, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming, but
Sounds like-
I'm not going to say anything at the end of the day. But everybody, they had this groundswell of support for him. He's doing the round on the talk shows and such. And I'm like, okay, I'm not paying too much attention to it. Later on, it comes out, this is a whole, and then the same people, literally the same people who were out over here like, hey, we need to believe this guy. We need to believe. Now it's come over. These are the same people jumping down his throat. And I'm like, this is the problem I've had with this from the beginning. Everybody wants to come out. We need to believe people when they make these accusations. And then when it comes out, now we're going to jump down the throat. Why don't you just stay out of it and let the whole thing play out? You got the news report.
Okay, but yeah, you know what?
Let the investigation
Kyle,
take place.
I agree, but the problem here is that you usually give people the benefit of the doubt. Someone who is well known as this guy and his family, and they've been on the show, you don't expect someone to be such a bold-faced liar. And let's say he's a bold-faced
It's not just a bold-faced liar. It doesn't even make any sense.
Said about giving somebody the benefit of the doubt doesn't mean that we believe them. Giving them the benefit of the doubt is that we refrain from any judgment or commentary or any side taking until all of the facts are there for our dissemination. But it sounded like a
heinous crime that someone had to. And you're right. We should be that way. When I first heard it, I was like, my big thing was like, wow, that was a lot of stuff done to this dude. You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree. And I was like, he was still able to get to the hospital?
MAGA, the homophobic comics, the racial comics. You know what I'm trying to say? The MAGA hat. I'm like, God damn, did they miss something? Probably the white hat or something like that.
Really, from that story, it sounded like he was targeted. Like they were following him, like they knew his whereabouts, like they knew his moving patterns, that type of stuff.
The fact of the matter is, I agree with you, and normally we should do that. But unfortunately, we live in a 24-hour news cycle, probably even a 12-hour news cycle, that people are constantly having to say something. And now you're having people, particular politicians, are paying the cost of jumping ahead too fast. But I think there's enough evidence here. There's enough circumstantial evidence, and the guys who perpetrated this particular crime have come forward and said, and they proved they've had telephone calls from this guy. They have a check. I mean, a check.
Okay,
How do you write?
How
do you write that stuff down?
Did the check clear?
All right.
He still owed him $500.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
All right. So then that
Are you serious? He still owes them money?
Well, it was $3,500, and he said he'll send him another $500. So that tells you something.
All right.
So what's worse? He wrote the check or they took it?
What's worse is that he even put it down.
Look at this. So all that said, the bigger issue is that none of this makes any sense.
No,
It's
it does
like
not.
the plot, the plan, the end game of this, none of it makes any sense. So if you put all that together, you don't know the
Lifetime movie.
You don't know the thing of even the drug angle doesn't make any sense. So the hard part for me is there's no logic. There's no even if you watch an ID Network show, there's some thread that the person was going and they go south where they try to take out one person but at least have a connection to it. Now he's got this thing to make money for his show, to make some sort of thing to help out people that have been attacked. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and that's why I have a hard thing. And what you were saying, I just want to key into is just that fact that Cal was, it's easy. I moved past you to like the fact that it's not an insult. Lord. I said, all right, sorry, I should have said Cal, right? The thing that they're bringing up is that the way people shift and turn, just like the Twilight Zone episode, the monsters are due on Maple Street. Now, if you look at that episode, there's a point where the lights turn on in the house, like it's this person and it's that person, and the problem is that we look to our enemies and it's ourselves, and that's the part that they're saying that it's themselves. Like ultimately he's not us, but the fact that we turn and let's say we're here, I turn on Mario turns on me, Cal turns on, that's how quick it happens and how we need people to defend him when we don't know the story. And now we need everyone to joke and trash him now that it's pointing to him. And this rush to judgment, as you said, is the wrong part of it. This is what we can't do because we keep doing it as it goes along. We don't allow any sort of process of justice, even if we know the person is guilty. You have to go through the process of justice of slowly letting it happen instead of, and I'm not above making a joke, but you have to just decide not to jump in on there, let the justice process play out, and because people are also falsely accused, and that still happens today. So we can't act like it's always
and I agree
a
with
cutting.
you there, but you know what the problem? I have to cut you off here, bro. Because,
okay.
I mean, this was some serious allegations, and it's been 4 weeks of investigation before the cops came out and said, "Yo, this guy made this stuff up." So let's
I think we should be a little bit more like with the justice system that we have. And again, this leads to the other problem I'm having where we've already had this groundswell from the left saying that when somebody comes out, makes an accusation, we should believe them. Okay? Not that we should afford them the space to be able to make the accusation safely without, people imputing their own prejudices on it.
Yeah.
But we should believe them. We don't know. Okay, we don't know. So, that's what happens over here. You come out and he's black, okay, he's gay, this from these marginalized, he's from the marginalized part of society, and we should believe him, not because, okay, not for anything other than the fact that, hey, we should believe anybody who comes from one of these sectors of society that we believe is marginalized.
What gay guy calls himself the gay Tupac? Like, who's acting like
I
this?
think that's besides the point.
I agree with that.
That's besides the point.
No, it is not. That's how ridiculous it is.
This, to be quite honest,
It doesn't make any sense.
This, to be quite honest, in terms of news, is really low.
Yes.
Really low on the
Yes.
totem pole.
I
But it
am,
got aggrandized out of nowhere because this
Yes.
guy's on television,
Yeah.
and because nobody could be patient enough to wait for. This should have been like page 6.
But you,
at the end of the day.
bring what should have, could have, would have. No, but you know what happened is this hit a lot of different times. You have the racial, the sexuality, but also the MAGA people got hit. They got slambasted. Yeah, with what happened here, that they are culturally and insensitive and racist and homophobic. Probably there are some of them there. I'm not saying they aren't. But I'm saying the very fact that people just who believe in the same ideals of the president are automatically just being painted in one particular
Well, they've done a good job, I think, media-wise, and the same people who want to wear or Trump out, poor choice of word, but Trump out MAGA, they've done a good job of turning that into something that unfortunately can be viewed very, very negatively. I mean, look, if I were to go into a room, 12 guys. All of them white, and they're all wearing, "Make America Great Hands Again." I might think twice about that at the end.
Well, they also had the tiki. You had the tiki torches also. They had the MAGA hats and the tiki torches.
Because at the end of the day, and I know people who are Trump supporters.
Yes,
okay, and if they heard me say that, they'll be like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Look, if I was to go into that type of setting right over there, knowing that some of those people, and I hate to say it, some of those people, that hat might as well be a hood for them. They use that to hide, or to shield certain incredibly vile opinions that they have, thinking that they can come over here and that they fit in there.
There are extremes in any group, but I haven't seen.
It was the same thing with Black Lives Matters for me. I thought it was exactly the same thing, where these guys would have these extreme. Incredibly extreme views at the end of the day, where the same thing, if you put it was the reverse, if you were white and you had to step into a room with 12 guys and they're all wearing, "Hey, Black Lives Matter," how comfortable do you feel at the end of the day with the information that these guys, that has been reported about them and that they've shown that they've shown themselves? That, I think, is the bigger problem.
I don't think they should have turned it into MAGA like a Hydra, since we are a comic book show. They turned it into like a monster thing, and it's like saying "Make America Great" is enough, but once you make it into an acronym, and it's like, oh God, it's like some sort of monster. But I think it's hard for me because it should have been, ultimately at the end of the day, while I'm on Facebook or whatever, it is such a small story. Ultimately, he should get his job back, or he should work as an actor, because it's so dumb.
Yep.
It's the dumbest thing, and it's like, go to jail for 6 months and call it a day.
The biggest person
You think he should be X'd out totally? That's what you're saying? Because that's what they're going to turn it into.
Forever, but you see, this is the one thing. That's another thing too. I think people can change and grow, and there needs to be some type of forgiveness. But right now, he needs to do his time. He needs to definitely. This is a serious accusation.
False accusation.
The sheriff came out, and the sheriff said, basically, for everything that he did, and said, like, what would be the proper punishment? And the sheriff said he should apologize. That's all that they're asking. And
that's pretty good.
He put a false report. Look, the problem
that's what the sheriff said.
But the sheriff, it's important to say that this is just tying up. This is tying up.
I think what the sheriff said.
Yes.
I think what the sheriff said is very magnanimous and also very appropriate. Saying, look, okay,
he was
what
very
you did.
Angry.
No, I think he was very angry. It's a waste of time and resources. But again, I think he understands that this guy coming out and having to apologize and admit what he did
is
punishment enough.
Yes.
Is punishment enough? We're going to waste more resources on this guy with jail time
I disagree.
and 3 squares a day?
I disagree.
Don't you think in this environment that would be a punishment where the people that still defending him would have to accept to get off of it, even if there is some side angle. If he does this and it's all washed because there's some craziness, he has to go to his supporters and be like, I did this because ultimately...
People right now are getting pulled out of jobs because people think that you did something in terms of Me Too, in terms of a sexist or
and that's wrong.
Wait a second, but I don't know. You're jumping to a different thing. You're jumping to a different thing that doesn't relate to this.
I think it relates very, very closely.
No.
I think that there has to, if you want consequences for one thing, it should be consequences for something.
So what are you saying?
Wait,
you're
going.
You're going too far.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I don't agree with anyone. This whole zero tolerance, no investigation, no due process.
Not saying that.
I'm not saying that's what you're saying that, but that's what this what this is tantamount to. That's why you have this case, and that's why everybody paid so much attention to it at the end of the day. I don't think anybody should be pulled off work or just forced out,
Yeah.
a la Al Franken or such, without due process. I think that's a very important
Yes.
part
I
of
agree
our
with you.
structure as
I
a
agree
country.
with you.
However, it can't be, well, these guys got a taste of it, so he has to get the same thing too. Let the punishment fit the crime. Start making proper strides, if not in any other example, and with this one. I really appreciate what the sheriff said, because a lot of times it's zero tolerance is an extreme position.
And I agree with
that
you
leads to what? Extreme punishments at the end of the day. That's what
For
we're
the
going back-
common people, that's one of the things that's harder, because the celebrities, unless it becomes a big case like Michael Vick and the dogs, the celebrities come with a gun, and if you just say, "Oh, I had a gun," they let them off. They do community service. Like a friend of mine in my neighborhood got caught with a gun, year, automatic. And it's like, so and celebrities, like, they go to the black thing, they go to the thing and say, "Oh, I've been treated like this, they're treating bad." It's like, no, this is what happens to the ordinary people. So I think in this case, it's so, they could have him do 6 months, they could have him just apologize. But I don't know how much further. Do you need to go to Michael Vick route to put him in jail?
Michael Vick was extreme, and I think at the same time here.
And it wasn't actually for the dogs. It was for, I think the charge itself was something different, but it was the dog thing brokered the charge he got.
So, but I'm saying the thing, though, I think is that there has to be, I agree, there has to be no zero tolerance. I'm not with that. But at the same time, he has to, if we go through the process, he has to suffer some consequences. Just because you're a celebrity and say, "Oh, well, he's a celebrity, we'll just give him say sorry."
Oh,
no,
no.
it can't be that. It has to be more than that. But at the same time, I also think that once he's done his time or he's done his penance, he needs to be forgiven, and if he needs allowed to he can be rehabilitated after sufficient time has passed.
I don't know if he's going to last in jail. I'm sorry to say that. No, that was another gag. Sorry.
That's a whole nother thing.
I just want to say
Well,
that.
it's a waste
It's
of-
so ridiculous. That's why
it's a
I'm
waste
still
of resources,
joking
just
about
like
it.
But he's the one that did it. No one else did it. He came it up, so
You're
he's
right.
the one that did it. You know what I'm
You're
trying to say?
right.
You know,
I'm-
it's just,
yeah,
my
but
feeling is that if someone else comes out who is attacked because of his race, there's people who died because of their race recently in the last couple of years. We've seen these attacks on African
And that's why it's so important.
And
That's
this is
why
why
it's so
such a
important
sad
not
thing.
to take this stuff. Again, that's why for me it's so important not to take this stuff with this incredibly extreme position, because there are people who will use it. Okay, and there are people who are going to use it because, look, they are, you're a victim of a situation. You need to be able to bring this out. And then there are people who are just as equally going to misuse it, because there is there's no standard, there's no process. I can just come out and say whatever the hell I want, okay? And then when it's over, a lot of times when it's over, Jussie Smolliet is in a situation where he may actually have to pay. A lot of these people come out, say whatever the hell they want, and they disappear into the ether, but there's no penalty, there's no punishment, and it was just as big of a lie at the end of the day.
Well, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to have to do my last joke, and a precursor is going to be a joke, that they shouldn't fire him. They should bring him back to Empire, and the first thing they should do is recognize what happened, and they should do a homage to Alexander O'Neill, and do fake, baby. You can't conceal it, because in my mind, because I can see it, you're a fake. Come on.
I'm going to join in with you on that, but I will do it off camera.
I don't know. I can see him going back to the show. So
The show will be dead if he doesn't go back. They say Taraji's leaving.
Yeah.
He's the star of the show, and he's the biggest news right now. And this show thrives off of controversy. They should do it.
I totally disagree. I don't think he should be going back. I mean, remember with the Roseanne issue where she was saying things, she didn't commit a crime like this right here.
Oh,
She got lambasted
that's a
off the
good
top.
point.
That's
That's
what
a
I'm saying.
good, strong
I think
point.
Roseanne's situation was different
Strong
for one
point.
big reason. Head of ABC is a black woman. There is no way that they could have kept Roseanne on that show
Another point.
with a black woman in charge.
Another point.
Could you imagine the amount of heat she would have taken? Because what they wanted was, they didn't necessarily want Roseanne. They wanted those ratings. Those ratings were great.
Yeah.
And then all they did was say, you know what, we're going to get rid of her. They repackaged the show, and they're like, okay, we can get rid of. But there is no way that Roseanne, making the comments that she did about a black woman, okay, would have been able to survive that with the black woman at the head. Even if she wanted to keep her there, she would have been like, look, I can't keep her here. Can you imagine the amount of heat I'm going to take at the end of the day? No. So she had to go.
Right. But I'm saying, but then you have a huge double standard where now you have this dude who committed a crime.
No, I agree. No. I agree. I was just saying as far as the show.
In life, you're going to have double standards, triple standards.
And that's okay with you? That's not cool.
No.
It's
No,
a
it
part
is.
of life.
Yeah, it is a part of life.
It's a part
But
of life.
But then
No, they can get rid of him. You're right. You're right. They can get rid of him. I was just saying for the show's future,
I think
unless
the show is going down. I think that in terms of
yeah,
ratings,
but
it's
he
been going
was
down.
he was a big part of the show. Outside of Taraji was the biggest thing. I think he was basically the person that he was like the next guy. He was making moves. You could see him in a bunch of different things.
Well, they have a very talented family, so
Hey,
the Smollets will not.
at the end of the day,
will
at
not-
the end of the day, at the end of the day, the guy, what is it? He's already been, he's had his bond. Okay, I don't know if he's going through arraignment. If it gets as far as a trial, everything will come out. He's either going to be found innocent or guilty. Let everything play out, and then if you're still interested after all that time, we can definitely.
It's going to be
throw
interesting
it.
because the papers sell. The papers love controversy, and they're going to put this front and center. All those entertainment blogs are going to have this front and center. So it's going to be in our face for a while. And look, right now his defense team is saying
I'm
they're
interested in the Mueller
they're
investigation.
innocent, and they are not.
They're holding out, and they're not going to putting him in rehab, and that's making it nutty. If they
You
put
think
him in
this
the
is going to
rehab,
be more important than the Mueller investigation? I think it's
For
going
some
to be
people,
Right
this is
now-
gonna be for a particular crowd of people, they don't care about the Miller investigation. The people who watch these type of shows, I don't knock all, but there's some they don't care.
I
And
do
people-
believe you have
and-
people who don't care, but
and
I
then
think the Mueller investigation is just going to surmount what they care about or not.
I disagree
You're
because
going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay attention.
No,
to
you're
it.
going to have a group of people who are for the president who are going to say, "Who cares about this stuff?" And there's going to be people who are already against the president. The key is the middle, and how much that middle is going to move. And so right now, the country is 50% against him, 40% for him. It's only 10%. So people already had their ideas about Mueller, whether or not it's going to work or not, we don't know.
Well-
If charges come off of it,
Well-
that's a different story.
and that said, I think we've done our time on the.
Next time on Spinner Rack, we'll be discussing
No,
R. Kelly's latest.
We are not doing R. Kelly.
Yeah, you're right. We're not doing that.
He should have gone to jail a long
That's
time
it.
ago.
That's the end of the
Here we go
story.
again, dude.
Justice system, you guys blew it.
Yep.
End of story.
Yeah,
Spin rack out.
Good luck catching him.